Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Wa salatu wa salam ala khatam al-anbiya wa mursaleen. Sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsan ila yawmiddin. We welcome you in Masjid al-Sharif with our mental health program. Today session will be on anxiety, where we have representative from the Los Angeles County Health Department that will be sharing information, resources that is available for those in Los Angeles County. Sister Charmaine is our hostess and who will bring the inspiration that goes along with, uh, keeping us excited, keeping us interested, keeping us motivated, keeping us determined to find ways to have a good day. Even though sometimes we wake up and we don't know how our day is, Sister Charmaine, Allah has blessed her to be very inspirational and very motivational, and to help those who need that little bit of encouragement to be appreciative that they woke up today and that they have a new opportunity to address whatever it is that they are going through. But again, we're just so grateful for this program that will extend each month. We will have a mental health session and as a workshop. And so we invite you to be here in person at Masjid Al Sharif in Long Beach, or to be able to follow us on the Facebook page, the YouTube page, so that you can be able to stay informed, and to get the information that your families or you individually really need. This is an area that is affecting people throughout the nation, throughout the world after the pandemic, and even outside of the pandemic. There's just a lot of stresses with the inflation, just a lot of things that have people really, really stressed out. The issues dealing with the children, issues dealing with gender, politics. It's just a lot of things going on in our community, in our society, and people need to know that there is help. And so, with that, again, welcoming you on behalf of the board at Masjid Al Sharif and the community of Masjid Al Sharif, I'll bring on Sister Charmaine to, inshallah, give an overview of the today's program.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Imam. I appreciate you. I want to say thank you, Imam, for allowing us to have this platform where we can come every month and talk about mental health awareness. Sister Rugi, I'd like to thank you very much for being here every month to educate us about what the county is offering, what the county is providing us. Today we have a guest, and her name is Sister Razia. She is a licensed family therapist. She deals with children, adolescents, and adults, and so she's going to be able to speak on what she have noticed since COVID, the increase of mental health. So alhamdulillah, and I want to thank all the guests, all the listeners who's online for the opportunity to be here. It's beautiful outside. I know y'all could be somewhere else, so I want to say thank you for taking the time out to come. So just to let you know, this month we're talking about anxiety disorder. So every month, we are having a monthly discussion where family and people can come out and find resources and talk about mental health. A lot of people don't like the word mental health because they feel though that, they're ashamed of it. And I want to say there is three elements that we as a human being, we are operating every day. You have your spiritual health, you have your mental health, and you have your physical health. Mental health is just something that mental health is how you process life situations. Whether you lose a loved one, someone got hurt, you lost a job, divorce. I mean, every day we are challenging with something that Allah has brought upon us, and so our responsibility is to be able to, how do we understand what is going on and how to process it so we don't get stuck, we don't get stagnated, so we be able to move forward. So that is what mental health, it gives you a better way of processing it. And when you do have mental health and you have an issue where you can't process it, it's good to reach out to somebody and just talk to somebody, because it becomes bad. I truly believe it becomes bad when you don't find someone to talk to. You just sit in it all by yourself. and you don't know how to decipher the situation. And just, let you know, if you asked me probably about 3 years ago, what is anxiety? I couldn't tell you. But when COVID happened, it hit me. And I was just reading an article about how COVID, since the pandemic, there has been 25 to 30% increase in anxiety and depression. And as a life coach, a spiritual teacher, and a chaplain, I go to the prison every week, and I mentor to the women at the prison. And I hear their stories about mental health, the stuff that they go through, and how they didn't have anybody to talk to help them to go through some of these life challenges. So they end up just exploding, and then now they sitting in prison because they didn't have anybody to talk to. And so I witness, I see it, and just to share just a couple of stories with you. For me myself, COVID has happened to me, and well, COVID has happened to everybody, and everybody's world has changed. My world has turned upside down. But the beautiful thing about what happened to me, I heard a little voice says, "It's not happening to you, it's happening for you." Someone hacked my computer and took everything out of my computer. This is my working computer. I didn't know what to do. And I heard a little voice says, "Get out in the world and go help people." And I'm saying, huh? I didn't know. I had to pull back. And as a person, as myself, a go-getter, a workaholic, I still was trying to fight through whatever was going on. And I really didn't have nobody to talk to, but I had to step back for a moment. And every day I still get up every morning, I do my morning, meditation. Thank God. I'm thankful. I'm grateful for everything while I'm still going through this. And what happened, what I realized when I started getting anxiety, I'm at work and I'm just working. It's like, okay, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. Trying to recover everything. I started getting anxiety. And all of a sudden it's like, I stepped back for a moment, didn't understand what was happening. So I had to go outside and get some fresh air. I had to walk away. I had to walk away from everything because it was too much. And I realized that my mind is saying, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. And body said, we ain't doing that. And so they wasn't connecting. They wasn't balancing. And then, I'm trying to figure out, why am I going through all this? What is happening? Then I had to realize, okay, Charmaine, you got to step back for a moment. You can't do everything that you want. That is not, your body don't want to do that no more. So you're going to have to do one thing at a time. And so I had to take everything that was here, write it on a sheet of paper, and kind of just slowly complete my task based on what I was able to do, because the body said, them days is over with. We ain't operating like that. And from that point, I was fine. I didn't have any more problems with anxiety for myself. And so that's definitely, I give God praise for that, because if I did not pay attention to that, I could still constantly have these same issues, not understanding the connection. Everybody is different. My anxiety is different than the next person. So I just wanted to share that with you. And then another story, I have another lady who was married for 18, no, I'm sorry, she was married for 20 years, and her husband passed away. And she didn't know to let that go. I know losing a loved one is hard. For me, I haven't been in that experience, but it took her 18 years to finally move on with her life and let go. And I realized after 18 years, that's a mental process that's going through her mind of feeling sad, not having that partner, her other half with her. Once she realized and was able to move forward, then her body started to deteriorate. And so I'm understanding you. I'm trying to pay attention to what's going on with our body, the mind, the spirit, and everything. And so she had this heavy burden on her that it affected the body. And now that the mind was released of that pain, it went to the body, because now the body said, I've been holding you up. Now that the mind is free, now the body is starting to be able to get effect of what she's been holding for 18 years. And so now I had to talk, me and her had a good talk. And I said, now it's all about your spiritual health. I said, now you got to bring faith and believe that you can heal yourself and that you're going to get yourself together so you can overcome. And she said, you know what, Charmaine, thank you for that, because I've been so down, depressed. It's kind of like a domino effect. First was my husband. I've been worried and, keeping myself in this closet, don't want to go out in the world, don't want to live life. And now that my health, I'm sitting here depressed, thinking that this is the end of the world. Even my children don't want to talk to me no more because all I talk about is how my health is deteriorating. I complain about my health. And I said, you got to stop complaining. You got to start uplifting yourself, knowing that you're going to get through this. And she said, you know what? That's the same thing my children keep saying. They keep telling me to speak positive, to be thankful, to be grateful for, God and waking up every morning. So there's a lot of dynamics that take place with the mind as we go through different challenges in life. And so I just wanted to share that with you. And there was also one more thing I wanted to share, but it hasn't come to me yet, but it'll come to me. But I wanted to share that with you just to let you know that everybody deals with anxiety different. Um, and it's all about the processing, having somebody to reach out to. And if you don't have anybody to reach out to, you have family therapists. Sister Rugi will share some information that the county will provide to you of numbers that you can reach out to or health programs that there's out there to help with anxiety. So with that being said, again, I want to thank you all for coming out. And if anybody have any questions that they want to share before I give the mic to our guest today, which is Sister Razia, which is a family therapist, that she's going to share about what she have noticed during the pandemic. So anybody have any questions they'd like to ask? No, not yet. No, don't be afraid now. And that's the point. It's like it's okay to speak up. No, everybody okay? All right. Well, nobody have no questions. I would like to bring our guest, Sister Razia. She's a family therapist, and she's going to share a couple of things, and then after that, we'll have Sister Rugi come up. So thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Um, so, as Ms. Charmaine Holland mentioned, I am an associate marriage and family therapist. I work in Orange County. I work with 9 years old, children of 9 years old, and up to my oldest client is 65. I've been doing this for a long time, but as a licensed therapist for about a year and a half. Anyways, anxiety, as you guys know, we all experience it. Sometimes it's life circumstances. Sometimes it's just we're so stressed out that somebody says something harsh to us and it really affects us and it creates anxiety. So it can be something big or it can be something small. A lot of what I've noticed in my practice is that a lot of kids and adolescents are experiencing anxiety and depression in unprecedented amounts. Since the COVID has happened, the pandemic, and already as an adolescent, they already have so much going on, school, friends, who they are as a person, dealing with parents, family, and trying to fit in. Sometimes we're all from different cultures, and sometimes there's one culture in the home and a different culture at school. It's very difficult for our kids. So what I notice is that, number one, there's such a stigma about mental health and anxiety. And it doesn't just happen for kids and adults that are in their middle age or young adults or older adults. It happens for our elderly folks as well, because they're dealing with a lot. They're dealing with loss of family and friends. They're dealing with health issues. They're dealing with maybe financial burdens, loss of a spouse. So it can happen for even our elderly as well. And also loss of sometimes purpose and usefulness. That's also a loss that can create anxiety for our elders. Sometimes loneliness causes anxiety because it's not just about it, the typical thing would be, oh, if you're very lonely and sad, you're going to feel sad and you're going to feel depressed. No, anxiety and depression go hand in hand. So it's really important to pay attention. But basically, what I do in my practice is, number one thing to do is to be mindful. practice mindfulness, which is being present in the here and now, in the present moment, and being aware of what's going on with us. What am I thinking? What am I saying? How am I behaving? Why am I saying those things? Why am I feeling this way? Where's this coming from? So just acknowledging and realizing what's happening is the first step. And then the second thing is to really try to, when something triggers us that causes anxiety, it's important to, first of all, calm ourselves down. Because what happens is when, let's say, for instance, let me see if I can give an example for us. A couple, a married couple having an argument, that's causing anxiety for both of them, right? Typically. It's, the first thing that happens is the body notices that, the mind notices that there's a danger situation happening. And danger can mean, it's not just physical danger, it could be psychological danger, it could be emotional danger, it could be spiritual danger. So danger's happening, so then the mind takes this in and tries to prepare the body by sending hormones to the body. So it's getting it ready to either fight or flight, either leave or fight it out. And so a lot is happening with our body and our brain and our chemicals in our brain, in our body. So we can't really think rationally at the moment when we're heated up and our anxiety is way up there. So what we need to do is either walk away from the situation, do some abdominal breathing, which helps a lot, get outside, just take in some deep breaths to calm ourselves down. And then we can actually know, okay, what's the problem? What's the solution? What am I going to do? And if we don't know, the next step is to get help, right? To just ask for help. Talk to somebody. Talk to a close person that you love, or a professional if you feel like it's going on for too long, that constantly you're feeling anxiety. That's when it's normal to feel anxiety. We all feel anxiety at times, right? I was feeling a little anxiety about this speaking engagement. It's normal. We all feel it. Doesn't matter our education level, our background, our training, our health. It doesn't even matter. Everybody feels anxiety. So having said that, it's important to not push it away. Acknowledge it. It's not good or bad. It just is. And basically, we just need to calm ourselves down, ask for help. And if it's going on for months at a time and everything is causing us anxiety and we're constantly feeling like worrying about things and nervous and restless, and sometimes we notice it in our body, our chest feels tight, that's anxiety. So ask for help, clinical help. Yes. Is what? Stress and anxiety are not exactly the same thing. Stress causes anxiety. So stress is basically a factor that comes from outside or inside of us, right? Something happens that stresses us. Oh, thank you. Something happens that stresses us, and then that causes anxiety. Yes. Any other questions? Have you guys, let me ask you a question. In your families, do you notice anybody in your family that has experienced anxiety?
Is we got that camera right there.
Yes.
Could I just suppose?
Yes.
I got three boys.
Maybe
Yeah,
just
I got three boys, and being at home from school, away from their friends and stuff,
Absolutely.
it definitely made a big change in our lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Extra, yeah, yeah.
there's a lot, first of all, on the web for how to treat anxiety. There's a lot of YouTube videos that help with that. It's somewhere to start.
Well, they pray right here now.
Any other questions?
They pray right now. See the print
Are
right
we
here.
turning- Yes.
It can be right here, then you can see the back of the people when they switch it on.
Yes. Yes.
So this
Right. Yes, yes, all of us.
Cause, anxiety with, coming back out and mixing with other
Right.
people.
Exactly. And basically, sister, thank you for that. Anxiety is the fear of unknown. What we don't know what's going to happen, that fear is anxiety. So, yes, we don't know. We've never really experienced a pandemic to this extent before. We've had stuff, but we've never actually experienced it. So, yes, that's normal. We just have to expose ourselves little by little into and integrate back into regular life slowly. Right.
Everyone has something that they're going
Yes.
through, and even though they're looking like they're fine,
Right.
we don't know. I was with one lady in a dress shop, and she was perfectly normal. She was a sales lady. She was showing me what she had and everything. Then about 2 weeks later, I found out she had brain surgery.
Wow.
So, we don't know.
We don't.
What people are going through. It may be something that large, or it may be something small.
Absolutely.
So, we
So
have
we
to
need-
always take in that everybody might be having something.
Everybody is always going through something, like you said, big or small. So we need to be mindful of that and be patient. Yes, thank you so much.
She's very right. Like she said, everybody has been affected by COVID, and everybody has been sheltered in the house for so many years. And
Yes.
now, like you said, everybody's getting acclimated back into the society,
Yeah.
and people are still wearing some of that, fragile elements that they still have on them, and so people don't want you to get close to them, or
Right.
and so it's like it's really sensitive right now how we have to interact with a lot of people, and that's exactly what she said, and I
And
was
the
on.
rules have changed.
Huh?
Things, our interaction, the rules
Yes.
for interaction has changed.
Tremendously. She has a question.
Yeah, I have a question that if somebody is experiencing anxiety and they don't think it is something with them, they think everybody is wrong, I'm right, and I'm angry, I'm anxious, I am really tied up because people around me are not doing good. What do you suggest? How can they self-suggestive therapy or something they can do to realize that this is something wrong within them, not outside?
Right.
So what should they do?
So that's a great question. Basically, as you already know, being older and wiser than some of our younger folks, that is something within them. So what you want to do is talk to them about making sure that they are happy and solid within themselves. If they are doing okay, it doesn't matter what's going on outside. Anybody can do anything, and it doesn't cause us anxiety or anger. But if we're not okay inside, so it's really within us, like you said. It's, yes, people do a lot of things. They do good things, they do bad things. And so it does affect us. But we have to, thank you, we have to monitor how we're going to respond. That's our responsibility. So yes, people do put a lot of their stuff on us that's negative, but our responsibility is not to teach them or change them, because that's not our job. Our job is to take in responsibility for ourselves and figure out how we're going to react to that and how we're going to handle that. Yes, thank you.
And, for me, as a author of affirmations, positive affirmations is what we need. And that's the only thing that's going to help change the mindset of individual is by speaking positive. But I know everybody don't wake up positive like I do, and there's some days I don't wake up positive, but I'm grateful for life itself. And so sometimes we just have to just be kind to people, put a smile on your face, speak to people and say good morning or good afternoon. How was your day? You'll be amazed how that changes another person feeling. One day I went to the store and I was saying hello to everybody, and the guy said, "You know what? Thank you so much. I needed that. That changed my whole entire day." And no telling what kind of day he had. You know what I'm saying? And so I was grateful for him coming back, because sometimes you don't get the impact of how you affect somebody by
Right.
saying thank you. But thank you very much for that. I just wanted to share that as well. So sometimes positivity is always the key.
Yes, thank you so
You're
much,
welcome.
everyone.
You're welcome. Yes. Thank you, Sister Razi, for speaking. Yes. And then while we're here, Sister Rugi and Sister Razi, I was online and I was checking out different tips of helping with anxiety, and so they were saying that when you have anxiety, there's like three things, there's many things you can do, but one that was interested to me, it was grabbing ice cubes. And they said if you grab ice cubes, the whole ice cubes in your hand, that will calm the body down, and that will eliminate, that feeling that you have of overwhelmed with anxiety. And another one was, if you're feeling anxiety, to lay down, just relax and just breathe. And that helps calm it down. And then also, we also know if you go outside and get in the grass, they say take your shoes off and get in the grass, you get grounded with the earth and everything, and that helps calm. So if those who's listening, you hear, and those who's online listening, if you have experienced anxiety or still have anxiety and you're looking for little techniques or whatever, there are some techniques that you can use to help with anxiety. So now, anybody else have any more questions? Yes, yes, ma'am.
How do we deal with anxiety between adults and adolescents?
If you'd like to come back up here, you can. Oh, okay.
It doesn't, it differs in the way of how they view it. So adults view their anxiety maybe a lot bigger in scale. They have a loss of a job. They have their child is ill. Something big. They can't make their rent this month or mortgage. With adolescents, it's smaller in scale, but it mainly deals with their friends, being accepted in with their peers and how they conduct themselves. And friends and being accepted is their biggest problem. So it's different sets of problems, but the anxiety feels the same. It's a lot of worry. It's a lot of nervousness. It's a lot of, sometimes the body feels it. The same with adolescents and adults, it's the same. The symptoms are the same, right? So you can pretty much do the same type of tips for young people and adults the same. And it also really helps if the adults in the home model these behaviors for their kids. I have anxiety too. Like, you could say, I have anxiety too. I was feeling anxious about this situation. So this is what I did. This is what I'm doing. Let's do some breathing, deep abdominal breathing techniques together. Let's practice together. And that not only bonds the adult and the child, but it also shows that there's ways to help ourselves. So yes, if that answers your question.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I have a live podcast that I do every Thursday. And this last week was on mental health. What does mental health look like? And I have 20 minutes before Sister Ruby come back on. But the topic was very interesting. And since you brought up about adults and adolescents, how they deal with stress or anxiety, there was a mother who lost 2 children. And she said it started when one of her girlfriends moved out of town. And she said that they grew up together, and I think when they got into middle school, whatever, she had to leave. And she said it took her a hard time to deal with that. She started cutting herself. And she said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "The loss of my friend." And so for a mother not to really understand what that child is going through, that means that somehow you have to get together and talk to that child and explain, maybe this was the situation, what happened, I'm here for you, or whatever. But that's what caused her to start doing cutting and everything. And then she also mentioned that her other daughter, when her and her father got a divorce, it really affected the kids, really bad. And she said, Charmaine, I didn't really understand that until they got older. And so here it is, adult, a mother and a father having a disagreement. They decide to go their way. But the child looking at the daddy is like, why you leaving? She couldn't understand what mom and dad was going through. So she said probably when she was in her 20s or 30s, she went to a friend's house and seen mom and dad sitting down eating dinner. And she called mom crying. And she was like, what is going on? What's wrong with you? She said, Mom, I'm over my friend's house and the mom and dad is sitting down eating dinner. This could have been us. So even from it happened that they got a divorce at a young age, that child is still holding on to that trauma that took place. And because she seen a friend sitting down eating, it triggered something in her that she didn't know how to deal with. And her mother thought she was kind of like really joking, like, what's going on? I don't understand it. But mom and dad relationship, she got it, but couldn't understand why the daughter couldn't get what mom and dad is over with. And she ended up having really self-doubt. She really was speaking really negative thoughts and everything, where she ended up took her life. She tried to get she did get help with having a therapist. And then it was really bad. She got a PhD. She did well in education and everything, but she still took her life. And so we don't know the triggers that take place from a childhood experience. So I'm glad you asked that question. But, she said, Charmaine, all I can tell you to do, mothers, when you have your children, to love them, to talk to them, to embrace them. Any type of situation that change in the household, it is good to come together and talk about it. Be open with it. Let them know that, hey, I'm hurt too, just like you hurt. Together, let's try to work this out so we can, have a wonderful time, So, she lost her two daughters, but all she said, all I remember is all the good times that she had. So with that being said, I hope that answered your question. I hope that helped a lot of people to understand, I have two boys as well. And so I constantly talk to them, and yes, they have their ups and downs as well, but I'm there to share their pain, their experience, and everything to uplift them and let them know, hey, it's going to be okay, And, we all are tested, The other day I was just saying to myself, I said, our ancestors was tested. Do you not think we're not going to be tested? We got to be strong enough to say, you know what? We can get through this, with all the support. They always say it takes a village to raise a family. It truly do. You cannot do it by yourself. If you got a good friend that you can talk to somebody. Just don't sit in it alone, because you're going to hurt yourself even more. So with that being said, if anybody have any more questions, I'm going to bring Sister Ruby. Yes, ma'am.
If I'm the only one that's thinking on this level,
Of
but
course not.
I being in a big institution like a masjid, I'm always anxious that somebody would come to the masjid that's not, maybe they're not happy with the masjid, or they're not happy with their life, or they're just looking to do things to Muslims. But I don't know how you could ever prevent somebody coming in any public place, like a school, like a masjid, like a church, and hurting the people within because they have a gripe. So I'm always anxious that okay, I didn't know. I mean, I know I'm not the only one, but I'm always looking because I'm always thinking about that. And then the more and more that it's on the news, the more and more anxious I become. And then, like we were having a family night here, and because it's an open street, anybody can walk off the street.
Yeah.
And this guy walks in the door, and we just like froze. And they went to see why. So, I mean, even though you might have security or you might not have security, when you're in a public place, that's a thing that's come about by things happening in public places. Is that now when we're in a public place, even like a grocery store because people have gotten killed in grocery stores, that causes anxiety just going out the house, going into a public place. And that's something that,
Get a little bit older, we feel a little bit more vulnerable,
yeah.
right? We're not as physically fit to defend ourselves. So we can feel even more vulnerable. And with the media and the news, everything going on in the news, of course it causes anxiety. Those are triggers. So you're definitely not the only person. We all sense that. What the best thing to do is, like you said, be vigilant about watching, listening, making sure that you're aware of what's going on around you. And having a plan. God forbid something were to happen, what will I do? Have a plan in place. Know where your exits are. Know how you're going to exit. Know what you're going to do. Those are the things that we have control over. The things that we don't have control over, there's nothing obviously we can do about that. So that's just where we have to take it. Yes, thank you.
Thank you for that. Yes, absolutely.
The past 2 weeks since the Texas shooting of those little kids, since the Texas shooting of the little kids at school, and then my two sons are graduating, one from middle school and one from high school. So they're having all those parties and graduations and stuff. And so every time they get out of the house, I'm like the past week I've been like having anxiety all the time. And I'll be text me, you okay? Every 10 minutes, are you okay? And it was like wearing me down until like on Tuesday, I was like just done. And I had to go to the ER because I couldn't take it anymore. So it's really getting stressful for everybody. Yeah, it's just like you worried every time your kids leave home, are they gonna be back or not? So you're not the only one, sister. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. I just want to say that I know with the news and everything, you hear a lot of people talk about now they're afraid to go to church. They've been killing in church, afraid to go to the grocery store. It's like now it's like everybody's, anxiety, the schools, everybody afraid to go anywhere. And so that's where we get that spiritual health, that faith got to kick in. And here it is again, it's the unknown. We don't know the unknown. And so we have to have that faith and know that everything's going to be okay, because at some point we have no control of it. All we can do is protect ourselves, protect our children while they're in our present, and let God do the rest. You know what I'm saying? Because, that's one thing that we don't know when we're going to go, how we're going to go. You know what I'm saying? But you can't keep walking in fear. And that's what society wants you to do, is walk in fear. You can't let fear control you. You got to know that you're going to be okay and that everything is going to be all right and that God and the angels are with you. That's it. That's all you can do. So I just want to leave that with you guys, You're welcome, darling. You're welcome. You have a question, brother?
Real quick, I grew up in this masjid. I came here, I was 17 years old, and I got a little bit of marching and FOI and all that stuff. Then I went off to the military, and now I consider myself a security professional. Unfortunately, I'm working 2 full-time jobs, 8 hours, and they're both security. And I see the First Lady coming to the masjid and you feel unsafe. My recommendation is anytime a sister is here, if there's some brothers around, something like that happen, whether your husband's here, could just kind of like, brother, can you come in just do security for a little while to make sure everything is safe? Because this is just me. This brother, this ain't, I can't speak for nobody else. I would take one for any sister or any senior. I would step. You ain't seen me in that. People know, oh yeah, that brother's moody. He did, but when it comes to security and messing with the sisters, I'm gonna step right in there. But and I also want to say what Sister Charmaine said is that I would listen to a brother on Instagram. He's a big sheikh, Mutif, one of those guys. He said, Allah got us in this world for tests, one test after another. Like you said, those that came before us, they were tested. We're gonna be tested. I know the sister, she got some sons. I always see them and congratulate her and her husband doing a great job. But if if your child go to school and he passes, he's more than likely gonna pass as a martyr, as long as he wasn't doing anything wrong. So we have to put our trust in Allah. I mean, God, Almighty, because like you said, we don't know where we're gonna die. We just try to be prepared, get much knowledge and information. So if something like this does happen, we can rest assured that Allah got our back, and that's the most important thing.
Thank you very much, Brother Kareem. All right, so with that being said, if nobody have any questions, we're going to bring Sister Rugia from the LA County Health Department to share resources and information of how to reach out if you don't have someone that you can talk to. She's going to provide some tips and techniques that will help guide you to get to the right source. So, Sister Rugia? Here you. Use this here. And anybody have questions?
Yes. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much, Sister Charmaine, always for organizing this, and Masjid Al-Sharif to host this for us and allow us to come and educate the community. I'm going to get closer to the TV. Maybe you need to turn your chairs like that. As we said before, it's the mission of the Department of Mental Health of LA County to educate every one of us in the county about mental health and the mental health disorders, just to allow people understand their feelings and also the feelings of the loved one and what they could do if the feelings could be showing symptoms of a disorder. Like Sister Charmaine and Sister Razia, they give us a lot of information about what mental health. Mental health is basically having that stable balance status where you are between your mind and your soul, the nafs inside your emotions are balancing each other, where you are with everyday stressors, you are bouncing back up, taking care of yourself, able to keep going, taking care of all your responsibilities, also recognizing your abilities and have confidence in yourself that allows you to carry on everyday duty and be a productive citizen. And at school, at work, you are able to take care of all the things you have to do. So today, last time we discussed about the stigma, and sisters and brothers, we have to work with each other. Sister Charmaine, working for almost a month now on this, we created flyers, videos to invite people. When you receive that flyer, please pass it on to other people. I see a lot of you have maybe relatives, children, they should be here because this is so important for them. First of all, it helps them at least understand why I feel this way. Like when we said, once you feel it, you will say, why am I thinking this way? Why this is taking over me? And then you're going to say, stop. Inside yourself, the kids even will say, stop. That's anxiety. Oh, that I went to that workshop. I learned about that. So we need to work together and have this room full of people. We must start doing that together because, subhanAllah, believe it or not, your mental health is that big block that's based where you are building on it your relations, your way of thinking, your energy. When I meet a lot of people, young, have beautiful careers, work so hard on themselves, but they are not happy. They are so stressed out. They are taken away by an anxiety that eats them up, where they don't want to even reach their full potentials. So we have to work together here, inshallah, in this community and be one of the communities who really invite the youth and the people and the elders, and we as a community work together to educate about this. This is how we can overcome the problems of mental health when we start working together, inshallah. So hopefully, when we send out, we're gonna host this monthly. So mark your calendar, encourage people to attend, invite your children, and work together, inshallah. So today we are going to learn about an anxiety disorder. There's different kind of anxiety disorders, but before we touch on each one of them, we are going to learn what is an anxiety. By the way, an anxiety, like Dr. Ms. Razia said, and Charmaine, she told us, and anxiety is having that fear inside you, that natural. It's a very natural feeling that each one of us have as a human. Not only this, in the Quran, if we are the Muslims, there is, and even in the other holy books, we heard about prophets experiencing fear and anxiety. But when it becomes a disorder, when it becomes a problem, because in anxiety itself is a healthy way of keeping you on track to make sure, or you study for your exam, or you need to feed your kids healthy food, or you need to speak properly to other people so you will not get into a problem. So that inner feeling inside you is healthy. It keeps you better. But when it becomes unhealthy, that's what we need to learn today. And it becomes unhealthy. Let me give you an example. It starts with, I have to tell you, stressors plays a big factor in creating this an anxiety disorder. Because each one of us, especially in this country, are responsible to do a lot of things in one day. Okay, taking kids to school, feeding them, pick them up on time. We are constantly chopped up by the time. You are in a struggle with time. I have to be doing things on time. So that itself is a big stressor, to be on time, doing things on timely way. Kids' homework, tests, work, food on the table, people coming, people going. All this contributes to your daily stress. And each one of us can handle the stress differently. Some people really just can do it and they have this energy. And for me, sometimes I wake up in the morning and I look at my keyboard, I think about what I have to do in one day. And I say to myself, work, fight. And it's like a fight. It's for me, it's like keeping up with my schedule. It's a fight. It's like, and if, like, sometimes you do things painful to your body, like walking up the stairs, carrying bags, or actually reaching out to something back in the car, and you feel like your body aches or your back ache, and you say fight. And some people really, little things can make them really come down and feel so tired and so scared. Now, so for example, I am responsible for a lot of things I have to do. I have also joined school because I want to, for example, get my master. For example, I have two teenagers in the house. I have not a good working car that's really giving us a hard time. My son's struggling in school. All this can build up into you. And if humans don't say, okay, I'm going to take a break, I'm going to learn how to self-care, then what happens to them? What happens to people? These stresses can really become overwhelming. And where you are, like, for example, is it better this one? I think I have to have a mic. I can do it. If you don't want to, but it's just that some words we're saying, we can't hear you. So kind of relax a little bit. So that's when like, for example, when this thing's happening. Okay, I'm gonna do this, and then one word it becomes agitating you, takes you thinking back and forth. You'll be like driving, and your mind is about what he said, what did he hear, what did he do? Oh, I have to do this. I'm gonna do. What happened to this? And then the littlest thing, Mom, I missed. I was late to class today, and the professor told me I can't take the exam. There's another thing. Oh, and then you worry about the exam for the kid and how you're gonna deal with it. Then comes night. You can't sleep. all day fighting this emotion inside you, trying to analyze this and fix this, and you can't sleep at night. Imagine how you're feeling during the day, and when it comes to night, you can't sleep. And then you can't rest, you're agitated, your muscles are tight, and you can't sleep, you don't eat. Becomes what? I don't have appetite. Or you overeat, or your sugar's up high. Because you want to relax, but you can't. And a lot of people don't feel like want to eat. So you're not sleeping, you're not eating, you're irritated, you're agitated. And then, because of all this, what happens to you? Your muscles start hurting. Your joints start hurting. You are not knowing what's going on in me. And then I have to deal with backache, headache, stomach ache. And then what happened? Every day it doesn't come smoother because we have this life. We have to do a lot of things every single day. And I'm not relaxing. And then whatever happening in my life is adding on to me. So this becomes one night, 2 nights, 3 nights, 4 nights, or maybe one day you take a break. Okay, you relax. Maybe you're going out, you forgot a little bit, come at night, still, I can't sleep. And then every little thing becomes what? A problem. Everything a problem. This is, by the way, the generalized anxiety symptoms. And then if this continues with this way of life for more than 6 months, it becomes a disorder. It becomes a disorder, and we have to treat that. Because can you imagine a human not having a proper way of eating or even sleeping? Can you imagine a human constantly upset and tired? And guess what? What this do you think will do to your relationships? You are supposed to be at work at 7:30. When you are like this all day, what happened to you at work? What happened to you at work? Do you think people will function? You'll be like hearing your boss, good morning, as a bad word. And you say, look how he said that to me. Your mind going further and further and further. Your husband tells you, even if he says to you, I love you, he's like, oh, look, he didn't mean it. He's not serious about it. Everything becomes so negative. And humans cannot function. You cannot study. You cannot raise your kids this way. Imagine your kids come to you, Mom, I don't like, you know our kids. Stop. And you will be shouting and that is like, that's it. This is, you reach the edge. And don't be surprised that people sometimes get a panic attack. That's the highest level when you reach anxiety. And we're going to come to that. But right now, let's look at what's an anxiety definition. I give you an example just to let you understand how I'm going maybe getting into an anxiety. But according to the physicians and the psychiatrists, it has to be like this for about 6 months. Is that correct? It has to be 6 months. And if you feel like this has taken me so long, then it's time to go see a therapist. So anxiety is the fear. Fear and anxiety are natural, necessary, and harmless emotions. They are experienced by everyone and part of the experience of being human. In fact, anxiety can even be helpful when faced with dangerous situation, as it activates the fight or flight response. Correct. However, some people experience the flight or fight response when there is no danger present. In these cases, anxiety becomes unhelpful. Anxiety in the absence of danger or threat can make you feel uncomfortable, especially if it occurs too frequently or is really intense. And we gave an example of how we are going to do that. But let's look at information facts just to have you understand why we have to start working together as communities with the mental health department, educate ourselves and our children about these mental issues. And anxiety disorders are the most common condition in the United States, affecting 40 million adults age 18 and above. That's almost 18% of the population. According to scientists, in anxiety is costing the government billions of dollars. Why? Because a lot of people who's very well qualified quitting, not able to do what they have to do. Some of them, they don't want to go further, achieving a higher education. Some of them is really, really becoming so tired and fatigued, they're calling off. Isn't really, really becomes a problem. Women usually experience anxiety disorders at a greater rate than men, almost 60%. Anxiety disorders can be treated, but only a third of persons with the disorder receive treatment. In anxiety, it's the most common mental disorder, but also it's the most treatable, up to 100%. You can treat an anxiety. And we go up a little bit, brother. Yes. And you can see that the highest age group of people who experience anxiety is between the age 30 to 44. And that's why, can we ask, why do you think that is the highest group of people?
I would like to ask why the age of 18 and 20 for teens or older adults.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why? Do you know?
Because at that age, 30 and 44, people become really a full adult, and he has to look for a job, start creating a stable life for his family. They start having children, and that's a lot of work for them, and a lot of them, they need to succeed in their marriages and their career. And so this is the highest, and this is the highest of the workforce. This is our workforce age, that they're experiencing a lot of the anxiety, that if it's not treated or properly handled, it could escalate to depression, OCD. It becomes really a more complicated mental issue. We can go up. OCD is the obsessive compulsive disorder. Okay. And then, so we are coming now to look into the 4 or 5 different kind of anxiety. The generalized anxiety, which becomes every issue, cause you disrupt your mood, you're sleeping, you're eating, and you are always agitated at that level where you are about just to explode. And then separation anxiety disorder, where someone really afraid to lose the loved one they have, like children when they start going to school, or even losing something valuable to you, like your fame or your status or your social status or your job. Also, when people really separate from that, they do develop anxiety disorder. Also, phobia disorder, where people are sometimes specifically afraid of certain things or situations or places. And social anxiety disorder is where people are really afraid to be among people, because they're constantly afraid to be evaluated and how I am being among the people. They're always constantly evaluating themselves. And the one that is panic disorder. And we'll go down. General anxiety, which we call GAD, which is characterized by anxiety and extreme preoccupation and persistent in all environments. Symptoms must last for at least 6 months in order to be diagnosed. It becomes a disorder. And that is, again, you are having one word you heard from somebody, takes all night for you. It makes you, and I had it yesterday, and I am like, oh, wait, this is, and it brings back memory and older history, and you are like this. And then if I don't have that knowledge about this could take me somewhere, is harmful to me, then I will maybe going and keep going about this issue. But because I have the knowledge, I said, cut it. That's it. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Just have some care time. And we're going to, me, Sister Shambi, we're going to have to start teaching women how to start have care time. Tea, a nice bath, just to put your feet up and relax, read a magazine, watch a show. We have to, I said to myself, that's it, stop it. And people don't know how to stop that sometimes. But with the knowledge now we have, you're going to tell yourself, this is going to take me somewhere. I am going to stop it now. I'm going to say, Alhamdulillah. I'm taking a lot of deep breath here and breathing slowly. I said, I'm going to go outside my door, look at the flowers, and try to look at something beautiful and relax myself. Telling myself inside, stop it. Just take a break, because it could take me further. Sorry, And then, so this is the generalized anxiety. And then let's look at the symptoms of these generalized anxiety. Yes, up one more screen. Here, twice as many women in comparison to men suffer from GAD, 36.8 million, and comprise to 3.1% of the US populations. And that's women more because we are really have more of a hormonal issues. We do the childbearing issues, and also we're the one who give a lot of care, and that's a lot of patience, and we are more vulnerable. And that's why it's a lot of reasons that makes women more the percentage of women to be having an anxiety is more than men. Let's go up. Okay, here, symptoms. What is having symptoms of constant preoccupation, along with your mind is not shutting down about that subject, about that particular thing. Why did he say that? Like, for example, my son woke up late and he missed that chemistry test, and the teacher told him, no makeup. He walked out of the house saying, see, you should wake me up. And I said, oh my God, you're 19. And I said, subhanAllah. And then he left, and I'm like thinking, it's my fault. He said, see, what did I say? Why? It occupies you. And then because you are like this, you become having fatigue, difficulty concentrating. You will not concentrate if you have a dialogue within yourself, in your brain, about what's happening. You become irritability, impatient, and muscle tension. You're going to muscle hurt at the end of the day. And you cannot sleep, or you have sleeping disruption. By 2 o'clock, you're up thinking about that kid score and his tests, and it's really could take you further. And one more. You see, he's sometimes accompanied by somatic symptoms such as excessive perspiration, cramping of hands and feet, accelerated heart rate, dizziness, stomach pain, diarrhea. And that's why, because you are fatigued, you do not eat, you don't sleep. And what happened also, Dr. Raza, she said to us, your body start producing these toxic chemicals to adjust in it, and then these chemicals, it stays a lot in the body. It's not helping, so you will have a reaction. So this is the generalized anxiety, and it does affect our lives. The next kind is the separation anxiety disorder, which is typical. It's a typical separation anxiety, generates fear or stress when separated from an attachment or significant figure in young children. And Sister Charmaine gave us a very beautiful example about the lady who lost her husband. She couldn't deal with that. She couldn't deal with the separation properly. She didn't know what to do. She took over her life for so many years. And then we could see this separation anxiety in children. They feel and they suffer, and then how they, mama left me. And then our therapist was telling us about the story how a child couldn't go for school because he cannot leave mom at school. She drops him, he will not. She said he will fill the whole school with the screams. And it took about a year before he would really, really let go. And then she told us that the therapy really, he stopped. His mom said next year he'll go to school. Next year. He became 8 years old and not even went to kindergarten. And then she said the only way we were able to fix this is having the therapist and the mom be in class. And the mom will sit here next day, if he's here. And then she kept moving until she was at the door. And he would get up and check if his mom there. And then she went outside, and they said, oh, mom is outside, look at the window. She said, oh, the window. She sits in the car. She's in the car until one day he said, bye-bye, mom. And he was able to join school. So this has really become a deal. Separation anxiety disorder occurs when the aforementioned feelings and behaviors manifest themselves in prolonged, excessive, and inappropriate way for their stage of development beyond 4 years of age, accompanied by symptoms of anxiety or alternations in daily function. When you are, a lot of us like this, we take our children to school, he's experiencing that anxiety. My older son, he was supposed to go overseas to visit his dad. He knows that he's going to separate from me. I could see his face become red. He was fighting his tears. He comes back again. He comes and he's act like, oh, I forgot something. To come back again, and then I feel that this is an adult person. And we feel it when we go overseas and we want to see I see my mom and I spend a month with her and I'm leaving. It's like my mind is like, I'm gonna leave now. I'm not gonna see them again. And feel it's a very strong, intense feeling. It is really, and it starts way days before. So if this becomes manifested, that feeling, then it becomes a disorder. It becomes a problem because you missing them. This happened to me when I was 16 years old. I came to the U.S. I got married young, and I came with my husband. And then I had 4 years old daughter, sister. I have a 4 years old sister. My mom had her when I was 12. Subhanallah, and I never realized that when I'm gonna come, I'm not gonna see her again. So when we are packing, she came to me. She said, "What did I do? Why are you leaving me?" There, at that moment, it hits me that I am not going to see my sister again. I swear, it took me 2 years to overcome that until I had my first child. Until today, I cry. Why? Because I didn't treat that feeling. It really became intense feeling. When I went to the U.S., the first time I call her, I cry. I can't talk to her. I can't hear her voice. It brings so intense emotion. And I didn't, and until today, it affects my feeling. My sister is an adult, has 3 children. We're friends, but that little girl is still in me. So it's really, really becomes intense. So if you see the following signs and your intervention does not seem to be enough, make an appointment with a professional people. That feeling of separation is very intense. It's really strong feeling. Attachment and tantrums inappropriate for age. If he's 7 years old and he starts wetting the bed or sucking his thumb again, that's a sign that you have to really take it into consideration. Constant complaints of physical alignment, to retreat from friends and family. He refused even mama to leave the room. If he really becomes like having the disorder, if you leave him to the kitchen, he will be attached to you. He will ask you to sleep next to you. He doesn't want you even leaving home, even if there's someone else caring for them. It becomes a problem. Refusing to go to school for weeks, worry with intense guilt and fear, excessive fear of leaving the house. And he will not be going to play. He will be sitting next to you. I advise parents, if it becomes like this for more than 2 months, don't wait until 6 months because he will not go to school. You need to consult the therapist and have the therapist walk you through how you deal with this problem to get them out of that disorder. Panic disorders.
I have a question for you. When you mentioned about a therapist, is there a therapist that you recommend? Did the county offer therapists or somebody that you think that we should look for ourselves?
If this is a person or a child in a school setting, the school has to be in the middle of all this because they do show you the resources, how you can have intervention with a counselor in there, and they usually recommend to you where to go. For people who may be suffering from this, not an age school, and you don't have an insurance, we have the county free clinics. These for people who don't have insurance or have the state Medicaid insurance. You can call. We have adult and children clinics in the county of LA, and you can call and make an appointment. They really, really do a good job because a lot of time people will develop mental issues, not necessarily because of something happened to them. Maybe it becomes physical. A lot of people will experience depression and irritation and stress because of their medication or because they have a prolonged pain in their body. Or for me, I have severe vitamin D deficiency. If I don't take the vitamin D every day, it will go so below, and it does really cause me fatigue, depression. I'll get muscle aches, and we confuse this with other medical issues. But when you go to the mental health clinic, they will do a physical exam. They will do assessment for you for almost 3-4 hours just to make sure what you're experiencing has nothing to do with a clinical problem. Yes. Sorry. Go ahead.
We're waiting to you.
We have a lot of that questions come, honestly. In LA County, there is very limited number of Muslim therapists. But I have to tell you, when a lot of the anxiety, it's important to talk to any therapist, because the therapists are trained to understand your background of culture and faith and language. The language is a big barrier. They have to have interpreter. But let's ask, if you are a Muslim and you have experiencing in anxiety, that symptoms is exactly like if a Christian experiencing or non-Muslim. And then to come approaching to you, a lot of the treatment has nothing to do with your faith. It's just how the way you maybe need to calm you down, maybe how you breathe, maybe how you experience the surrounding around you. A lot of it has to do with school, bullying, work related, and maybe marriage. If the marriage, we recommend, if it's a marriage, maybe you have to seek your faith kind of a therapist. Did you agree, Ms. Raz?
Like you said, all therapists are trained to take in cultural and religious aspects of your life in consideration. However, not everybody's very good at that. So the most important thing for you to do, more than anything else, honestly, is to make sure that you like this therapist, that they know what they're talking about, and that they can help you. That's the most important thing, because if you don't like that therapist, something about them turns you off, or they don't understand you, you're not communicating correctly, find another therapist, because that helps you with your issues so much more than anything else. Yes.
Myself, I've been seeing a therapist for with the sister, Los Angeles County Mental Health back in I want to say 2005.
Okay.
So I've been seeing one on and off for like 17 years. I still see one today, and I had several of them, and one of them guy told me, I know he didn't know what he was talking about. He said, "You're a piss poor dad." And I'm just saying what he told me. This was when I was living on Skid Row. And, mental health runs in my family. It's not a big deal. But my last two therapists I've been requesting, I don't want to talk to a male. I only want to talk to a female. And the one African-American sister, she's 46. And I got a daughter, 46. And she's talking to me like, and I explained to her, like, I got over it. You're a doctor's degree, right?
No, I actually have my master's.
But I tell them up front, I have over 323 credit units of college and university. That's like 3 or 4 doctors. So you can't try to belittle me. Like,
Right.
It's not about you putting me down because I'm talking to you and you're getting paid. One was getting $130 an hour. This one I'm talking to now, she's an African. She gets like $200 an hour to talk to me for like 1 hour.
Mm-hmm.
But I said all that to say, like you said, it's very important to make sure that you like the therapist.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And that you guys are in sync with each other. For me personally, I think it's important that your therapist knows what they're talking about. They understand you and your particular issues as it relates to you, not in general, but as it relates to you in your life. And then that you like them as a person. Yes.
Oh, okay. Please, go ahead. Oh, the mic so people can hear you online.
My question is, how could a therapist, everybody have a different cultural, different background. How could a therapist, look at age group, like what he was just saying, right? That she's 46 and he's an older gentleman. How could a therapist assess or diagnose or talk to somebody that they themselves haven't gone through that part, that social culture in their life? So how could a therapist help?
That's a great question. Number one, a therapist is trained in different stages of life. So when we have our masters, we're trained in working with young people, middle-aged, and elderly. Okay? Now, how good is that therapist learn that lesson? That's individualized, right? So that's why I say make sure they know what they're talking about. So you assess them in the first session as well. And then secondly, let's say I had a parents come to me and say, well, you don't have any children. How can you tell me what I should do about my children? And the only way I can explain that is, so if you go to a medical doctor and they've never had your illness, are they not able to treat you? They are, because they're trained for that. They understand that. And what therapists do, a good therapist does, is they explore and ask you about your culture. They ask you about your faith. They ask you about your particular life and where you are in that developmental stage, where you are in your life. So a good therapist can do all of that. But again, there's good therapists out there and there's not so good therapists. So you have to assess them as well as they assessing you.
And this is regarding the woman who I talked to, and because of the audience and everybody is here, for those who have children, and Sister Rugi mentioned, if I have a young child and I know my child is having issues, mental health issues, she mentioned that the school district has to be involved. A lot of people, myself, I didn't know that. So is that for every school age? You know, do a parent report it to the teacher or report it to the school first before they have to get a therapist? Can you educate those who's listening?
Certainly. So every school district has a budget for what's called special education. We've all known about that. Mental health issues can fall under that category. So it's not so much to report it to the school, it's to talk to the counselor first, or the teacher, or the vice principal, whoever's in charge of mental health for that school, and ask them, what are the resources? My child is experiencing this. What are my resources that the school can provide me? And they will take it from there.
Sorry, somebody else had a question, and I'll come back to you. Yes. I think I cut before you did.
Assalamu alaikum. I just wanted to say that, you know, because you are a Muslim woman, and in marriage counseling and problems with Muslim women, that I do think that we do need somebody specifically that knows Islamic laws, problems of Muslim women, problems between husband and wives. So I don't know if, do you participate in family counseling or, okay, and is that through the county or is that that's your practice? Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, at the end, we'll definitely get all her information so we can share among those who's here and those who's online. Sister, you had a question?
I just had a comment about like school counseling, and that's why I asked, do we have a Muslim counselor? I know my son, he's 19 now, he's almost turning 20. When he was in first grade, he was diagnosed with ADHD. That's what the counselor said, right? And then they wanted me to take him through counseling, so I took him through counseling for almost a year. And they were always trying to, I felt like they were trying to put something on his head that wasn't there. And they tried to put him through medication. And they were like, it's gonna help him, he's gonna, calm down, he's gonna stop doing stuff in class and whatever. And I talked to and so I was going through that. I didn't tell my mom or my family because it was like a stigma, right? And like, I thought he had a mental problem. And then when I told my mom, she was like, he's just a boy, just let him be. He's gonna outgrow that. He's a fine, Hassan, right? He's a fine, he's a fine guy now. And then, I told the counselor, I'm done. I'm not gonna go through counseling anymore. And he was like coming home with all those stories and telling me, Mom, you hate me. And so they were trying to that's what I felt like. That's going to the school counseling, right? And I felt like it's not right. And that's why if we have a Muslim counselor, they would understand, right? It's just, and like you said, it's just being, culturally understandable. Like, he's just a boy, he's just growing up, whatever. He was hyper, yes. But then now he's just a fine kid who can just sit around and be just like a gentleman, right? So it's not, he didn't need medication or going through all that they were going to put him through.
With children, it's really important to make sure that they're diagnosed correctly. The school counselor does not diagnose. She's not, or he is not trained for that. The school psychologist is the only person that should be doing the diagnosing. Okay, so even then, you as a parent have the right to say, okay, so this is what you think it is. I want you to treat the symptoms. I don't want you to put a label on this person. You can do that, okay? Secondly, find a therapist that is doing a good job. If they send you to a therapist that you feel is not doing a good job with your child, ask for a referral for another therapist. You have that right. Instead of letting that bad experience, scar you for the rest of your life, saying, well, therapy is not good. Therapy, honestly, in my opinion, is about self-discovery. It's not about psychoanalyzing somebody's childhood, what their parents did or didn't do or this and that, going through all that. It's about self-discovery here and now first. And then if there's something from the childhood or the past that was traumatizing or did not help this situation, then we can touch on it and see if it has something to do with this, just so for understanding's sake. But it's really, therapy is about self-discovery, and whether that's a child or an adult.
Okay, thank you very much. Sister Ruby, go ahead. Get another
Just,
question.
just to comment on ADHD, it's really a neurodevelopmental disorder. It varies between children. Some of them have it severe, some of them have it light. Some of it has to do with genetics, just he's hyper. But when do you really becomes a problem? It affects his school grades, self-esteem, his life. It's not a good therapy, like she said. They help you to understand techniques, how you at least discipline or talk, get his attention. And if the medication is really a good tool to help them calm down, so he would at least feel like, I'm not lost in the class. I am not like losing points. How come he understand and not me? Because he cannot settle down. He cannot concentrate. It's a concentration problem and fast movement. And also, some of them, they end up they have another symptom, which is spontaneous kind of impulse control. They will act things without thinking. So honestly, it depends on the case and the therapist. But we said counseling, at least I recommend for all the parents who have maybe children. You must, from now on, when we live in America, we have to really take a little bit another way of dealing with our society. A lot of the parents, maybe when they come from overseas, they don't know what's the name or even for the teacher. They don't know what's the address of the school. They don't know what's the principal phone number. You need to, as a parent, keep an eye on your child, keep following up with his school performance, and ask questions when he is below. And if you experience your child feeling symptoms of scared or not happy, refuse to go to school, cranky, cry at night, doesn't want to leave you, you must check with his teacher and have his teacher communication. And the best way always, you must start communicating in writing. Because once you communicate in writing, you have the day when you sent the things, what did they reply with, who you spoke with, is for your records and for any general records. And the school system, the teachers honestly are trained to detect problems with the children. So we trust the teacher in a way like, okay, if she sends notes, your child like that, or you can talk to her, why my child like that? You expect from her that she knows what she is going to tell you. And there's a process. It goes from teacher, counselor, and then if you notice something about your child, it's time to when you go to his primary doctor, discuss these feelings with the primary doctor. Say, my son is upset, my son is this, that, and his teacher says this, and the doctor must also know what to do. He will say, okay, let me make an appointment for you to see by a therapist or a counselor and take it further. But this is steps for you to really take action or early intervention to help the children not develop mental health disorders, because early interventions is the best way to eliminate all of this for future. Let's go back to this. This is what I'm talking about. If I notice my son worried today about his shoe, next day he's worrying about his hairdo, next day he's worried about why my backpack look like this. The next day you find, oh mom, there's an insect in my room, and he's worried about insects in his room. And you find him, let's go out. I don't want to go out. I don't feel good. And then you find the child becoming more anxious, or you yourself becoming more anxious. Or pay attention to the teenagers, because that's the age where they are very vulnerable to develop mental issues. Keep an eye on that person. Why she's not communicative? Why she's always upset and angry and have. Okay, I have to tell you, you go to sleep at 8 p.m. and you put your kids to sleep. Some of these kids are not sleeping until 4 o'clock in the morning. Make sure you don't have them have their cell phone with them.
Can I ask you a question? So a lot of it you were mentioning about panic attack as you watching their actions, but is there such thing of quiet attack? You know, where like you're mentioning that they're on their phone.
There's no attacks. I'm just telling you how it's progressed. So one day, if we ignore the early signs of anxiety, it takes you to panic attacks, because the panic attacks is just not all of a sudden. It's really progressed until that person will be lining up in lunchroom, just waiting in lunch. That one is bullying. This one is commenting. The teacher, bad grade in test. On the child or the teenager or on yourself. Your body collapses. Your brain cannot take it. What happened? You experience, or that person experienced a panic attack. And a panic attack, let me show you how it feels. Just bear with me. If we know now, we're sitting here as a bad example, but you hear someone, what do you feel? You're burning. You're afraid. Some of you freeze, some of them. This is what a panic attack feels without anybody banging on the door, without anybody doing. It's the worst feeling. You don't wish it to your enemy. And that person doesn't understand why. The brain is not understanding. So you're going to have a very strong, intense fear feeling. And I put this with my daughter. She has severe attacks. And honestly, I thought, like, what are you, why, for what? It's just an exam. Until I learned this. And when I learned this, I called my daughter and apologized. Because I wish, wallahi, I knew what she went through was an anxiety. I didn't know until I learned it. So please, let's learn this, because this is very important. The problem, yes, go ahead. One last thing. The last thing is, after the person experienced the first panic attack, he would live in a more fear, he will stay in the anxiety state for almost a month. You know what? Yes. They were living a fear life, thinking, when is going to be the next panic attack? They will not go out. They will not socialize. They are sitting to see, am I going to experience now? Am I going to experience? Is it coming? Am I feeling it? That's not a life. That's not a life. So we need to take an anxiety seriously. So it says approximately 6 million people in the US have suffered from panic disorder, twice as many women as men. And the highest risk of experiencing first panic attack is between the age adolescent and 30. So that's the age. And when your teenager experiences the first panic attack, it really, really could be devastating. Really. Yes, Sister Shaman, you had a question. Mm. We're going to learn the The symptoms, there's the symptoms about the panic attack. How do you know this is a panic attack? You're gonna start sweating or chills, and you will be like sweating while you are cold, or hot flashes, chest pain and discomfort. My daughter fall on the ground and she gasps for oxygen. She can't get the oxygen. She feels like she keeps saying, "I'm gonna die. I am gonna die." She feels like she is gonna die, and then she have not. Some of them experience nausea. Some of them throw up. Stomach pain, sensation of dizziness, fainting. Because why? Because they can't get oxygen enough, or they are like this. And then sensation of shortness of breath or something, or smothering. So this is, and I had my neighbor, beautiful Syrian lady, came with her husband, happily married. Subhanallah, she was suffering panic attacks without telling anybody. But her husband, no, her family, no. Subhanallah, my dear, instead of really looking into treatment, her sister-in-law told her, when you get the panic attack, go to your bedroom, sit in your bed, don't let your husband see you, it's unattractive. And she was living on medication. And these medications, sometimes you cannot conceive children with them because it could cause you a problem for 4 or 5 years. And then she started therapy, and I told her, when you feeling this way, come to just knock on my house. And she would start coming, and she said, and I see her like worrying, she was mumbling, and she's worried. And then I said, calm down, let's breathe together, let's just breathe, let's go out for coffee. And imagine when you take her and you give her support and you take her for coffee, and she changed her mood. She realized that, this is something I can deal with. I can fix that. And then she started going to therapy. Now they teach her how to deal with it. They teach you tools, strategies, techniques, what to do when you start feeling the panic attack, where to look, how you, they tell you, like Dr. Raza said, look at you in the moment. Look, I tell people, they tell you, just look at how far you're reaching, and look around you. Everything's good. My kid's good. My fridge is full of food. I'm breathe and pray, breathe and breathe. And of course, when you breathe, because panic attack is when you feel like so vulnerable, you're afraid. So the therapist tells you, breathe and seek, pray for your Almighty. Pray, meditate, take it, calm down. If you're standing, sit down. If you can wash your face, go for it. Look out the window. There's a lot of techniques they teach you at the therapy to minimize that panic attack, maybe eliminate it. And that is something people need to do. Okay. I always knew that I want her to seek therapy for a long time, but stigma is strong. People think therapy for the crazy. I don't want to be ongoing into medication. I'm okay, I'm a strong, she's a strong person, but she has an anxiety, and I'm afraid it's genetic because it runs in her dad's family. And she is not able to, the life is busy, and people still think when you are in a therapy, you're seeing a counselor, it's like something wrong with you. So you're not normal, and that's what we need to change. She's seeking therapy. She is doing much, much better. Like Dr. Mirza said to us, it makes you take control of your action, responsibility, and reflect on yourself. What am I doing? And a lot of anxiety disorder also develop in the Western world because of the fast-paced life we're living. Without you always carrying a journal, a lot of us must develop the skill of having a journal that has a calendar. And then you put down what you do, how you feel. Subhanallah, as a Muslim, Allah swear in the time, awal asr. We must look into time and organize our life, because develop this tool where you're going to organize your journal, your calendar, and also cherish the time when you sit down and put things on your journal and on your calendar. You must have this as worship. Once a week, you take an hour to look into your journal or your calendar and fix it. Or once a day for 15 minutes, create a table for you with your coffee and your journal and your calendar. This will bring a lot of the anxiety down and gets you in control of your life. Because people who suffer in anxiety, they feel they're out of control. They cannot control the life, things out of their control. Yeah. Let's go up. We're almost.
I went to Long Beach Wilson. And when I went there in 1975, there was only 6 blacks in my senior class. And I went to Washington Middle School over there in Pacific. So I got kicked out of school for fighting. I went to Stevens and I graduated. The guy that kicked me out is named Robert Ware. So he kicked me out of middle school. And then, okay. And then when I got a special transfer to go to Wilson, this guy followed me to Wilson. And he was my counselor for 3 years. And he harassed me. I didn't have a dad in the family. It was 6 boys and 1 girl. And all I knew was he was being, and I was like, I didn't have an outlet. I didn't know nothing about, seeking help from a counselor. And he harassed me until my senior year, 2 months before I was going to graduate. Called me in his office. He said, my name was Anderson then. It wasn't Mom. He said, you're never going to amount to nothing. You're never going to be nothing. And this is my principal at Long Beach. He put all this negative. I said, bro. I didn't say, bro. And I was just getting introduced to this. I said, man, you don't even know me. He kicked me out of school. Then I went to my homeschool poly. They put in the report, this guy is a fighter. He's a troublemaker. So they put me out of school. They gave me all D's. I was 30 credits short from graduating. Thanks to Allah and the support, I got this master's. And I went back to school and I graduated and everything. But I mean, he was self-inflicted mental illness in me. But because of Islam, me coming to the master, I should be a student minister and a student imam here. I had the strength. Allah gave me the strength to overcome him. And all my kids, I got 2 daughters and 2 sons. They all graduated from Long Beach Wilson. They followed me, and Wilson is a good school. So like what the sister was saying, how they trying to push the medication, that the therapy works, you got salah, and you pray to Allah. But the medication sometimes can have a long-term effect on you that once you get it in your system, sometimes you can't get it out. You know what I'm saying? So I feel for what she's saying because I went to Wilson, right? There was only 6 blacks in my senior class. So I went through that through 10th grade, 11th, and 12th. They didn't even have a freshman day. So this guy, like I said, and I'm repeating myself, he was self-inflicting me. Man, you ain't gonna make it. You never gonna. And then he followed me. Can you imagine somebody follow you and then self?
But you know what? I want to say that your faith health dominated that, and that helped you through the
Let me
process.
just say this on ending, and I'm not bragging. To relax, I ride down to the beach. Your son got a C300 Mercedes. I got a 550, and I make sure I ride by Wilson. Yeah, I made it, and I got $500 in my pocket, bro. So, and I do that. Sister Charmaine to say, I made it. Like, bro, what you were trying to self-inflict on me, it didn't work.
Part of the treatment is exposure. So when you pass by Wilson, it's a part of you overcoming that. If you have a hurtful feeling or anxiety because of that, part of that you actually overcoming that with you going past by and feeling this is nothing happened. This is good that you're passing by.
And I'm glad that you share it because you're probably not alone. But real fast, we got a couple
30
minutes.
seconds, 30 seconds. I've been talking to a therapist for like 15 years I never shared what I just shared with you guys here. And I was racing, I was in my hotel room. I know Sister Charmaine class when it started at 11. I gotta get out of here. I know Ibrahim gonna be here, Imam everybody gonna be here. I gotta help this sister. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you. Thank you. Sister Ruki, I know we got a couple minutes.
Yes, we have another disorder, which is the phobia, which is characterized as a persistent fear towards an object, activity, or situation. The fear response happens immediately upon being exposed to that object or situation. Evading it or tolerating it with much anxiety. Example, heights, animals, needles. In children, fear or anxiety can be expressed through crying, tantrum, or paralyzing fear. What happened to where's Brother Ibrahim? He has to. Yeah, go ahead. So symptoms, fear or anxiety about specific object and situation. We said that the object or situation usually and immediately causes phobia, evasion of the object or situation or endure it with fear and intense anxiety. Fear, anxiety, or evasion is resistant, typically lasting 6 months or more. Symptoms similar to those of panic attacks. And fear and anxiety significantly impact the social, occupational, or other important areas of life. Believe it or not, a teacher developed phobia by just going to her class because of COVID, and that's happened to a lot of the teachers. They was afraid to go to school to get exposed to the disease. Now, the last one we're going to discuss is the social anxiety disorder. That's really affects a lot of the teenagers. If excessive fear about situation where the person feels evaluated by others. This includes meetings, conversations with strangers, or being observed when giving a speech or presentation. If this becomes where you are stuttering and make you quit your job or do a lot of life changes to avoid being in a social gathering or being in a situation or a position where you have to give speeches or be present, it really becomes a problem, and you can overcome this if it affects your life with therapy. The person fears being ridiculed, rejected, or feeling offended. And the teenage at this age, because they are going through the stage where they need to fit in, they experience a lot of that social anxiety where they end up avoiding friends, avoiding family, and then we have to take action because it could escalate. This fear of being with others and evaluated by others could escalate. The person fears being, okay, well, let's go. Symptoms, and we talked about the symptoms. Fear of anxiety persists for more than 6 months. People could start to stutter, they blush, they feel like I want to leave, and they are in a wedding instead of enjoying the dancing and the happiness time, or they occupy on, they look at my shoes, they look at my hair, and they start thinking that this is gossip about her, and then in her mind, they look at me because I look this way, I speak this way. And that's really take the happiness of that person's life. In children, anxiety has to happen with friends and not just with adults. Let's go up again. Treatment of anxiety, psychotherapy. We're going to change that word to talk therapy or chat therapy, and sometimes medication for severe it calms people down, especially when the people have a panic attack. Biotherapy, which is stress management, relaxation techniques, yoga, etc. Family involvement, and that's why it's good to always, when you doing a therapy for anxiety or others, to get sometimes the family involved. It gives a chance to open up in a peaceful way of talking, and of course support groups. Last slide here. This is our information. This is our hotline. This is our access line. This line is very important for all of us to know somewhere in your contact list. Just to have you ask question about the mental health department, clinics. If you know someone experiencing something, please have it in here. In this brochure, our access line, you can text LA in your messages to this number, 741741, and it will give you all the list of the services for the county and the mental health department. We're done. Our access number for the 24/7 hotline for the Department of Mental Health County is 800-854-7771. And if you would like to use texting, text in your messages the word LA to this number, 741741, and click in, and it will give you a website. Click on the website, it will take you to all the services in the Department of Health Department of Mental Health in LA County. And if you navigate more, it takes you to the county, social services, 211 services, and all. It's all really, really nice to have. So please pick up one of these if you don't mind. And thank you so much for joining. I am done here. If you have any question, we can ask.
Comprehending all that information, they need to add social media, because social media is so influential with kids on Instagram, Snapchat, doing this and that, people bullying people. But when they like updated social media.
We agree. I agree very much. This is for all of us to be really, imagine you take your kids to their shots, to their physical exam. There is nothing wrong to go to a counselor to speak to them when they feel like, I'm feeling this way, what do I do? We need this to be part of our chats, eliminate the stigma by even sharing what we do on social media. Please, I know Sister Charmin working really hard on promoting mental health for all of our kids and ourselves in the community. Let's just help by supporting. Come, bring your children, bring your family. A lot of us might really say, oh, like yesterday, I said, I am feeling this. I need to stop. And I woke up happier, took care of things instead of me hammering myself with what's said, what's not said, and not sleep. So this is what we need to do. I agree with the gentleman here. Thank you for sharing this. We need to share this on social media and to eliminate stigma and have people come. Any more questions? Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And now, before we close out, we want to have Sister Razia so she can share her information for those who's online and for you guys as well. If you want to get in contact with her, I'm going to have her.
Thank you so much. So I work in Orange County with a private practice. It's called Hidden Strength Behavioral Health in the city of Tustin. And I have some brochures here that has the contact information. I have my business cards. If anybody would like some, I'd be happy to leave them with you. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Appreciate that. And again, I want to thank everybody for coming out and supporting mental health. As you know, that mental health is on the rise, and I'm so grateful that now we are deciding to talk more about mental health so we can help out the family and everything. And this is the whole reason why this here mental health monthly segment I'm putting together with the Imam and with Sister Rugi and any other therapist that would like to come and share, you know, to be able to put information out, because the more we know, the better we can help our families and our loved ones, and how to be able to find different techniques to be able to overcome. And Sister, my heart goes out to you. You mentioned that you went to the ER this weekend because of you worrying about your children out there in the world. I know you're not by yourself. And then this is the main reason why I do this, because I go to the prison and I listen to the stories of the women, and they going through mental health as well, and they didn't have anybody to talk to, and they got themselves in a situation, and now they in there for years, you know, got to go to a mental health program. Only if they had somebody out here or a program that they can say, hey, talk to this person, or hey, go to this here program. It can eliminate a lot of problems. So I just want to say, share with your family or friends what we're doing here. Tell them they're not alone. They can come, talk, be open. And the thing about it, the more you know, the more you're going to help yourself. So with that being said, next month is on depression. Sister Rugi, the Imam will be here. I pray that all you guys show up and even more people come out and talk so we can be able to overcome the challenges that we're dealing with today. Every day we deal with a challenge. Every day we are tested. But, you know, we all have to overcome so we can strive to reach our greatness in life. If we don't do it, we're just serving ourselves. So again, thank you. We have refreshments. We got pizza, Brother Kareem. Thank you very much. Also, I promote this book in the prison for the ladies. I ask all the ladies, do they know affirmations? And a lot of them don't know affirmations. And so I share my book to the ladies in the prison, and I teach them how to go within. And I tell them that they are beautiful, they're amazing. I know a lot of us, we go through things in life and people put us down, and they don't, what I notice is that a lot of them don't go within self, they don't love their self. And so I share my book on affirmations with them and help them and teach them about loving themselves, going within. So I have my books available over there for sale, and if you'd like to donate a book to the prison, I appreciate it. I'll also give them notebooks so they can write, start journaling, put their dreams down. I ask them, okay, when you're about to get out, what is it that you want to do? Some of them don't know what they do, so I try to help and navigate them to say, hey, let's find something to do, because if you don't have a plan, you're going to come back. And so my goal is to help empower them and uplift them and motivate them. And sometimes I just walk out of there and I have a smile on my face because I did my part. I helped them for that day. So I just want to say thank you again for showing up, being here, and supporting me. I appreciate it. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you.
Would y'all ladies like to come? Because we can all share here.
I can give the workshop to children as long as the parents. Our workshop designed for again.
Can I get your card?
Let me write my,
Okay, I'm gonna give it to my left. We'll give you a call.
thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you. Very nice
Appreciate
to meet
coming
you.
here
My
too.
pleasure.
Man,
Yes,
it's 550 here, so how much your books?
$5 each.
Fine. I still got it. I'm fine. Every single book.
Oh, thank you.
Please pick any one. You have multiple grades.
Wonderful.
Yeah, my picture right here.